Tourism in Thailand. Hey, I'm Pin, and today we're going to explore tourism in Thailand. First of all, what is tourism? People fly out of their home country that they live in their everyday lives, to visit foreign countries, which can help us learn about other countries' history, or simply for entertainment, or to explore a whole different world. Tourism is the term to describe it. That sounds amazing, but aside from giving the tourists a great experience, how else does tourism affect us? Tourism also affects countries. Some countries' economy are highly dependent on the amount of tourists that visit them each year. Tourism around the world? That's huge! Why don't we narrow it down? Let's focus on the effects of tourism in Thailand, where I'm from. Now that we know our focus, let's go take a look at this topic. Pros of tourism in Thailand. First, because of tourists, money is transferred in and out of Thailand's economy. Now let's remind ourselves what economy means. Not only money, but it's also the study of making choices, people as consumers, buyers and sellers, goods and services, and much more. When tourists come into Thailand, they exchange Thai money at the airport, then spend it on food, transportation, tours, souvenirs, and more. This helps transfer the money through our economy. Can you imagine if there were no tourists at all? Now let's take a look at the second good thing. Tourists are consumers. They have to pay for almost everything. Souvenirs, tickets to see landmarks, transportation fees, hotels, flights, food, and much more. This means that resources have to be stocked up because of the demand, and it could increase the amount of money that each person makes, not only the sellers, but the suppliers to make the product. This is a total win-win situation. Sellers get to make money from their high-demand product, while the tourists get amazing memories, trips, and cool things to take back. Now, if this scale is imbalanced, let's say there is a greater number of buyers than sellers, this might be a problem because the seller might not have enough supply to meet the demand. On the other hand, if there is a greater number of sellers than buyers, the sellers will have to compete with each other so that the buyers would buy from them. Let's take a look at the role of the consumer. First, they transfer money into the economy. Second, they make sure that stocks don't go overload. And third, they make sure items and supplies don't go bad, such as food. Moving on to the role of seller. First, they provide the goods or service to the consumers. They also shape up and meet people's demands and needs. Now to our third good thing about tourism. Picture this scenario. This man has a family to raise, but he's got no money and no job opportunities are offered to him. He's lived in Thailand his whole life and has a great deal of knowledge about the area he lives in. Because tourism is a huge part of Thailand, a man like him with lots of knowledge about the area can definitely become a guide. This is another win-win situation because the man gets paid for what he's good at and the tourist gets to learn a lot about our country. This also encourages entrepreneurships and for people to start their own guiding business. Now take a look at this group of tourists. They all have a high demand for this souvenir. 3 shops are currently selling this very same souvenir. They have to compete for the customers so that the customers don't go and buy from other shops. This means that the sellers have to pick their prices so that it's reasonable and their location so many people can have easy access. Wow, there are so many good things about tourism, but with upsides comes downsides. Let's change the topic to cons of tourism in Thailand. First, lots and lots and lots of tourists means lots and lots of space. They have to stay somewhere for the night, right? The government might have to clear away a path to build hotels, restaurants, apartments, and museums. Sometimes, the local people are driven out of their homes because they live in that space. Secondly, the tourists that come visit Thailand's beautiful beaches often leave behind more than just footprints. Litter and trash are piling up, affecting our wildlife, hygiene, and harming our beaches. 3. Noise pollution. Tourists often have loud parties at night which go on very late. They blast loud music, which keeps the whole town awake. This is a negative effect on the local families that are trying to sleep. And I also know that because I've been to a place where a tourist party kept me up. Besides noise pollution, there is air pollution too. With more people living in the area, more transportations are used and more greenhouse gas emission caused. The last reason is that ignorant tourists are harming wildlife without even knowing so. This is why it's important to educate them. Wow, I've never imagined how tourism can have so many harmful effects to the country. Let's move on. Since you've all heard about the recent outbreak of the evil coronavirus, let's explore how that affects tourism in Thailand. First of all, we are not allowed out of our homes, much less out of the country. Flights have been banned for precaution, which means no people coming in or out. Because of that, our economy has begun to drop. The amount of tourists have halved by the beginning of March. This has been a major effect since 12% of Thailand's GDP depends on tourism. Whoa, I've learned so much about tourism in my country. I'll never think about it in the same way again. There's so much more than just visiting countries for fun. Okay, see you guys next time.